Hello, everybody. It's meteorologist Hutch Johnson. I appreciate you joining me on this day. We had a snow system work its way through, causing some greasy roads early. That is long gone. It looks like a little cool down before our next slap of a ripper of a clipper makes its way in. We'll have the latest in your forecast. We'll look at the national weather, which also includes serious amounts of snow, serious amounts of ice, and that storm system causing some power outages heading off to the east as we head through the night tonight. It's just getting going. Your forecast update begins right now.
Now, a Hutch's weather update with Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson, brought to you by Robert Gibb and Sons.
All right, as is always the case, I couldn't appreciate more the fact that you're joining me and trusting me with your weather. Here's what's going on. We have a little weather wiggle working its way through the northern plains. All of these storm reports down here range from ice in the south, where we see the pink out here just moving out of Dallas, heavy rain in Houston, and some serious snow beginning to take shape as we look into places like western Missouri, Kansas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, getting the brunt of this storm system as it works its way off to the east. Let's take you in just a little bit closer as we check this system out. Number one, a couple of things we're watching for with this particular system down to the deep south here is that icing. And where is it tracking? Moving ever so slowly to the east northeast. This band of ice is going to limit snowfall amounts, but there's the potential for over 1/2 of an inch of ice, and some could see even more than that as that storm system really beginning to take hold with its impacts. And heading into the night, when temperatures drop, things there will begin to deteriorate as well. Zooming in just a little bit, we've got the Houston area off into Lufkin, Alexandria, and Louisiana, seeing some rain shower activity in the Jackson, Mississippi area. The northern reaches of the states of Mississippi on into Alabama do have a chance at seeing some mixed precipitation, if not flat out snow. And then when the winds become northerly on the backside of the system here, Oak City and on up towards the Dallas-Fort Worth area, look at the Metroplex there, picking up some precipitation in the form of freezing rain. And just off to the north of you now, we're starting to see that good old flakiness out there. And the NDSU Bison were just up there in Frisco, Texas, up here north of Plano. There it is. Look what's going on there in Frisco. We have freezing rain and sleet down to the south and good old-fashioned snowflakes elsewhere. So that system's working off to the east, and it's going to continue to bring some pretty significant impacts to parts of the area. As far as snowfall totals go up here in the northern plains, we didn't see a lot. Many of the reports around an inch or an inch and a half from today's event that worked its way through. That's not too bad. Now, as we take a look at that national picture, we did get some more snow up in upstate New York, up into the northern reaches of Vermont and New Hampshire, and very quiet on the west coast, minus those areas out there, Los Angeles, where some incredibly terrible fires continue out in those areas. So here's a look at this storm system's impacts. Let's go ahead and take a look first, but I want to remind you, today was Weather Kid Day, and I was so excited to introduce you to Grayson. You can see more on Hutch's Weather Kids by checking out my website, hutchesweather.com. Here's just a little clip on that while I rewind and get some forecast information ready. Check this out. Kids are the greatest.
Okay, so we're all to move and wave. So go ahead and wave. And now take a step to your left. This way. Left. All right. Left. Okay. Now over here.
I'll tell you what, it is one of the joys of my job and has been for the better part of 30 years, helping pass my, well, just fascination with weather onto the youth and students of our area. So thanks so much for trusting me with that. Now let's take a look at this forecast, shall we? This is a look at the European model. And as we take a look at the storm system through the Central Plains, I want you to focus on what moves out of Alberta, another clipper system that will impact the northern plains as we go through. Let's pull this up and then we'll go ahead and field some questions. One of the things I appreciate most about Hutch's Weather is the ability to hear back from you. What are the impacts you're seeing in your area? Where are you watching from? Drop a comment, let me know. Here's a look at your forecast. As we go through the evening hours tonight, this low pressure system in the Gulf Coast states will continue to track the Gulf here, meaning rain and warmer air as it's scooping those south winds on the front side or the right side of the system up into the panhandle of Florida by the time we get to noon on your Friday. Look where the snow makes its way through places like Arkansas, the band of heavier snow here in dark blue, as it works its way across the state of Arkansas, really does intensify some solid icing potential. Northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas, central Arkansas, Pine Bluff on into places like Little Rock, we're going to see some significant snowfall potential with this system that could exceed 6 to 8 inches of wet, heavy snow. And in some spots, isolated 1 foot totals will not be out of the question with this system as it moves into Tennessee and Kentucky as we go into your Friday for the northern plains. Here's a look at Saturday in the morning, and this is the Alberta Clipper that gets ready to take hold heading into the weekend. Now, this is going to come with south winds as it gets rolling in, as the system that impacts much of the southern plains will be on its way out into the mid-Atlantic. It will bring some snow, by the way, to places like Maryland, Washington, D.C., Delaware, and then another little clipper system working its way across the Great Lakes there. But here is the weekend clipper that will work its way out of portions of the state of Montana and North Dakota and move off to the south and to the east. And as it does so, I'm expecting it to bring a chance of snow. Now, when this system moves into the Great Lakes, it will intensify just a little bit, but notice a more northerly tilt to it as it works its way through. So we'll see some unsettled weather. The other important part with this system and the previous one is the north winds that follow will bring another cold and Arctic air mass to the northern plains, and some of this cold air dives to the deep south once again as we go through. So that's a look at your quick forecast there nationally. Now we'll take a little closer look for those folks right up here in the northern plains. But now let's look at some impacts as far as this storm system goes. Let's look at the snowfall today across the nation. It was ridiculous as we get those snowflakes out. Here we go. Okay, what you're looking at here are reports that have made their way in to the National Weather Service Forecast Office. If you pass reports along to these folks, it gets plotted on this map. So for those of you who have reported your weather and inclement weather across the area and how much snow you've gotten, you know what? Thank you very much. Now, I can tell you where you're looking at this storm just getting going. Any of these dots that are yellow or on towards red is where the serious snowfall amounts were. So the little weather wiggle that wobbled its way through the northern plains, producing an inch or two of snow in the northern plains. As you get into the Black Hills, there was a little bit more snow there, with areas just outside of Rapid City picking up 6 to 7 inches. The Central Plains storms, well, parts of the Colorado area, including the Mile High City, seeing about 3 to 5 inches of snow. A few of you a little bit more, though, down towards Castle Rock. Now, that's down there by the Palmer Divide or the Palmer Ridge on the south side of town. That squeezes out a few extra snowflakes there from an upslope type pattern that's just right for that neck of the woods. Now, take a look at this in the panhandle of Texas on into the west where we see these yellows. Yep, look at this. Amarillo by morning. Amarillo was getting a foot of snow. That's what happened in Amarillo. All right, and as we take a look off to the eastern parts of Texas now where the storm system is taking hold, we're getting reports already in Dallas. A lot of these areas on the north side of the metro area reporting 4 to 6 inches with the snow that will continue to blossom tonight as it works its way in. And we're seeing a few healthy reports in the area of Little Rock and Pine Bluff. Let's go into Little Rock here, and it's looking like we're seeing a few reports of 2 to 4 inches of snow in that area. And again, the heaviest of the snow is on its way to that area for tonight. So that is a look there. We did get some healthy snow. A lake effect style snow, and also in the elevated terrain of Appalachia here, seeing 3 to 6 inches of snow in a few spots from a system that worked its way through there. Now you got to worry about this puppy that'll be bringing up the heels of that as we go through. Look at Maine, look at upstate New York, picking up some lake effect snow in the last 24 hours as well. That is a look at the impact of that storm system. Now let's take a look at the impact of power outages. The icing potential tonight, along with the wind of the storm, could bring significantly more power outage problems to parts of the nation. But as we speak, we do have Texas with a yellow here on the power outages map across the United States, and California with the terrible, terrible fires with the reds. Now, what does that mean? That means in the red areas, we have in excess of 100,000 people without power. And as I look closer, it's closer to 300,000 people without power in the state of California. In Texas, that number is upwards of 10,000 or so without power from the wintry weather system working its way through. And as we take a quick peek at the state of California, the impacts are mostly being felt right now in the areas of Southern California here, where we have the orange and the yellow counties. This is looking at the Riverside County area, almost 500,000 people without power there. So that's a look at the power outage impacts. We do have road and travel impacts across the deep south as well. We're talking about states like Arkansas and Texas, and that's going to be moving its way into Louisiana as we head into the nighttime hours, as well as Oklahoma. So keep that in mind. You can get the latest travel information by searching up road conditions for your particular state, and the area DOTs will show that. Now let's focus on the northern plains here. Let me see if we got any questions on the national channel here. So, pardon me while I pull up the right view so I can see your comments and questions. Thanks so much for watching, David. It's good to have you on board. Good evening from the freeze warning in Tucson. Unbelievable the next few mornings. That's right, the cold air diving into southern parts of the desert Southwest. And you know what? It's been a wintry state there. Now, we have had some parts of Arizona that have more snow than Fargo, North Dakota, and Moorhead, Minnesota, where I am at. We're at about a foot for the year. Some of you in Kansas City, you got that snot already from the last round of storms, and another one moving through the southern part of Missouri now. Cindy, good to have you on board. Still snowing in the Plummer area. Thank you for that. That's up in Minnesota. And Northern Grace says hello, and it's a fine how do you do to you as well. All right, let's talk about this Northern Plains system that's coming this weekend. And I got a couple of special tools that I'll show you. As a meteorologist of 25 plus years, closer to 30 years, it's fun to stream because I get more time to explain to you some of the nuances of making and creating a forecast that's usable. Let's talk about this system in the Northern Plains that's coming on the weekend. As we go into Saturday morning, we're going to see south winds, and it'll feel like it's going to warm up, but that's going to be one of them clipper details that we'll talk about in a minute. I want to point this out. What you're looking at here is a forecast map from a number of different models, and we're looking at the position of the low pressure center, the Alberta Clipper. It's going to move out of Alberta, oddly enough. That's why we call it an Alberta Clipper. This one's going to slide through the oil patch of northwest parts of North Dakota and northeast Montana, with the heavier batches of snow working their way along and north of the track of the low. It moves diagonally south, and by noon on Saturday, watch all of these models pretty much in line with a position here in parts of eastern and southeastern North Dakota, northeastern South Dakota. So that has really held the course over the last few days, this northwest to southeast track across the Dakotas. Now, it's not going to bring heavy snow. These Alberta Clippers in this neck of the woods, usually this time of the year, they're more blow than snow, and that will come with some blowing snow as we go through. This is Saturday at noon. The snow will just be pushing into areas like Fargo, North Dakota, Grand Forks, North Dakota, and parts of greater Minnesota here in the western reaches of the state. Look what's going on when we get into some of the elevated terrain, though, out here near the Black Hills and in eastern Montana, southeast parts of Montana out there, not far from the Bighorn Mountains down south of Billings. That north wind will be blowing up those slopes, and that's going to enhance the snowfall in southeast parts of Montana. So that's a look at the position and what we can say from this. Even though the storm system is a couple of days out yet, it does look like we're starting to narrow down the track. But as you can see here by all these blue splotches around it, that's the forecast radar, the forecast chance for snow in this case for many areas. And these models are pretty willy-nilly, we'll say, off and on with their chances of precipitation. So what do we know about that, Hutch? What can we answer for you about snowfall potential? Do we need a shovel or do we need a snowblower? That's what you want to know. Dylan, good to have you on board. Thank you so much. Northern Arizona is no joke. Crazy elevations out there. You can get a little bit of everything. Indeed, that's the case. Thanks for joining, and thanks for your conversation here on the Facebook feed. Kathy, thank you. Good evening. I've had a fun day today. And just before I get to the snowfall forecast, let me share this. Today, Hutch drove up to the Devil's Lake Basin and visited with a whole bunch of producers up there at the Lakes Region Roundup, they call it. It's put on by the North Dakota State University Extension chapter here in North Dakota. What a great group of producers that we had out there to talk today. Here's a couple of photos that were snapped by that, but we did talk about weather. We talked about forecasting. I told everybody how hard my job is, and we all got to this understanding that, you know, we do the best that we can, and meteorology isn't a science. It is a science, but it's not an exact science. So they all agreed to give me just a little more leeway. So I unbuttoned the top collar and took the necktie off for tonight's broadcast. I hope you don't mind. Thanks so much for the invitation to the Ramsey County Extension Office, and thanks to all of you who had wonderful questions, great participation. Here's a look at the Fargo forecast. Friday is a break, but cooler, dropping in a 20-degree range. Saturday, Clipper is on its way. By noon, the snow should reach portions of the Red River Valley here in eastern North Dakota. There'll be some accumulation in central North Dakota and parts of Montana already by Saturday noon. The system will exit off to the east as we go into Sunday morning, and by about Sunday morning at 10 a.m., most of us will have had our snowfall in eastern North Dakota and western parts of Minnesota. Look at the morning temperature Sunday, by the way. You get out, you're shedding the cold, it's 15 degrees out there, eh? And then things are looking pretty good, but nope, that down arrow means watch it. Look at this. Afternoon temperatures, 5 degrees and still falling. We got Uncle Snotsicles out here because we're on our way to 11 below. And that's where when you exhale, if you do have a mustache going or anything like that, those snotsicles start forming on there. It's dangerous cold out there. No kidding. And it's something that you want to make sure that survival kit's in your vehicle. We get even colder on Tuesday, depending on how much snow we get. And I said 0 to 3 on the 7-day forecast. After that, it looks like a chance for a reprieve into the midweek. That hump day looking pretty great, with temperatures rising all the way into the 20s and eventually back into the 30s, as you saw. Now, here's a look at that snowfall forecast. Let's take a look at it. Once again, I'm going to compare several models, and the data is going to jump around on your screen. But as a meteorologist, it's kind of fun to show you and share with you what it is we're looking at. So these colors here, the blue colors are snowfall amounts, and I don't want you to focus on the amounts in particular on this particular map at this time, but just look at the geographical area covered by most of these models. And just like they had the low pressure system kind of agreed upon by the midday hour on Saturday, they're agreeing on some of these snowfall amounts here in the eastern portions of North Dakota, at least the aerial coverage. We can draw a line from Williston, North Dakota, through Minot and just north of the Bismarck area in the capital city, down into southeast North Dakota, straight into Minneapolis, St. Paul. And you see that areas along that line and to the north and to the east of that line will have the better chance with this clipper clipping you with a batch of shovel trouble that you'll have to contend with. So the snowfall amounts with this on this map, they're all over the board. When we see the red or pink colors pop on here, we're talking of amounts of 6 inches or more, but many of these models have in agreement that it's going to be 2 to 4 inches for many. So here's what I like to boil this down to. Still a little too early, and a lot can change. But what I do know is it looks like the best information we have right now shows this storm system bringing snow from a line near Williston to just north of the Bismarck, Mandan area in the capital city to Fargo to Grand Forks. And it's a good bet that we'll see some areas with 2 to 4 inches of snow, and a few could see pockets of more than that. And we'll stay tuned and see if this one with all the pink on it here comes to fruition. But I'm not thinking this storm system is going to be that organized when it's moving through north central North Dakota. That's the way I feel right now because I'm listening to my gut, and it's a rumbling out there. All right, let's take a look at your forecast and talk a little bit about some snowfall potential. You can go up here and grab the right graphic for you here while I'm skirting through the information that I have made and prepared for you today. And again, if you do have a question, let me know what you got. Now let's take a look at Hutch's snowfall. There's the model. And as we take a look at some of the products that I've had here, we can take a look at temperatures as we go into the morning hours. Here you go. And let me get on the right screen. Okay, so your temperatures, rise and shine, first thing in the morning, look like this. We're talking about some air that'll be mighty cold in the oil patch. We'll have near 0 degree readings for many here, or sub-zero air. That's where the coldest will be. The pink colors you see here in the northern Red River Valley, including Fargo and Grand Forks, will be 5 to 10 degrees in many locations to start the day, and the northwest wind will be strong enough at 15 miles per hour or so on average that we're going to have some wind chills down there around 10 below zero. So put on earmuffs out there, folks. It's going to be pretty chilly. And if you didn't get a chance to see it, for Bemidji, 10 degrees. For the Brainerd Lakes area, we're talking mid-teens to around 18 degrees for your start to your Friday morning. Now, as we go into the afternoon hours, I'll pull up the image on that. And what we're looking at here, not a huge warm-up. So we go from around 10 to a high near 20 in the Fargo-Moorhead area. Southern parts of North Dakota seeing 20-degree weather. Now, there's warmer air in the Black Hills of South Dakota. As we see here, some of these locations will be in the 30 to 40-degree range. And that's after we just saw about 4 to 6 inches of snow for some of those parts today. That won't take long to mediate and get better. Now, we're going to have some slippery conditions in parts of the Northern Valley. We're going to stay pretty cool. Any wet roads from today's little spit of snow could be a little icy, so keep that in mind on your Friday commute. Temperatures in the afternoon staying put right in the teens for most of Minnesota, and that's your forecast. Let me see if I have any questions at all before we move on. But again, the big story of the day, a huge storm system working its way through the southern plains right now, bringing rain, heavy rain at that, through Houston and points to eastern Texas and southern Louisiana. Northern Texas, including the Dallas-Fort Worth area, ice rapidly changing to snow as you go north. Many of these snow reports that you see here, as we went through just moments ago, showing that we do have some areas that have already picked up significant amounts of snow. Oh no, that's right. We were talking about a foot already in parts of the Panhandle of Texas near Amarillo. And here's a 7-inch report in Whitesboro, not too far from you folks in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson. I sure appreciate you clicking the follow button if you're watching on Facebook. If you're watching on my YouTube channel, hi, and thank you very much for watching. Drop me a comment. Let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to answer your questions. The snowfall forecast, by the way, with this particular storm system as it works its way across east, several areas are going to be seeing a solid amount of 6 to 8 inches of heavy, wet snow along the heavier band. Some in that heavier band will see 1 foot of snow, and the greatest risk for the heavy snow is going to be tonight and into the midday hours on Friday. Then the storm system will work its way out into Tennessee, Kentucky, and on out toward the East Coast. It does pick up a little bit of speed. There will be impacts, but the snowfall amounts should reduce a bit as it goes off to the east. A lot of wet weather with this. Some flooding will be a possibility, and watch out for that ice. That could cause some power outages with the wind and white of this particular storm. Again, meteorologist Hutch Johnson. Thanks for watching me right here on Hutch's Weather. Let me get you signed off here with some information about where you can find more information. I appreciate you following me here on my Facebook channel, hitting the subscribe button there on YouTube. And as always, you can head over to my webpage, hutchesweather.com. Upload photos of your measurements of snow and let me know what weather is going on in your area with photos that you upload to my website. For now, have a great night. I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson. We'll talk again soon.